Hey everyone, welcome back to the KB Cabinet channel. My name is Rob, and today I'm actually in my office. So I apologize if any of the audio comes out fuzzy. We'll see how it goes. But I'm inside I'm inside VCarve Pro version 11.5. I know 12 just came out, so if any of you guys have been using that, let me know if I should upgrade. Um, but I want to do kind of video on making something simple like a kind of like a photo montage. I think that's what it's called, but multiple pieces, whether it's pictures or whatever, in this case wood, but it's one image kind of broken up by different uh planes. And so it's a pretty simple to do, and you can get some pretty cool stuff. You can do a lot of cool things with it. So we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it from scratch, and yeah, we'll see how it turns out. So we are inside VCarve Pro, and we are going to start off by creating a new file. All right, under job setup, we're going to leave my settings at 48 by 48 by 1 inch thick. My zero position is my machine bed. All of this looks good. We're going to hit OK, and this is going to be our work plane. So the way that I'm going to go about setting this all up is going to be how I approach a lot of like my editing software. And so I like to kind of build my scene, so to speak, and get everything set up. And so that's what I'm going to do. So it might be a different workflow than you guys normally do, but I'm going to try to, keep it slow and understandable. So the first thing that I want to do is we're going to make 3 rectangles. And this is going to just be, we're doing this just for fun. So let's say I want to do them 12 wide by 25 tall. And I created it way out over there because those, but let's move this over here. And we're actually going to make 3 of these. So Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Let's see if I have enough room on my material. So let's just kind of place these. I want them kind of close together so that way when we put the image across it, I can kind of see the flow. So I'm just going to click these. I'm just going to kind of center these up on the material. Get them all in the same plane, and then we'll kind of inch these close to each other. So something like that's good. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's more for kind of just visualization. All right, so we've got the basic outline. This is like the outline of what we're going to cut out. So now we want to fill it in with all the good stuff. So we're going to come over here to modeling. And so under here, under components, we have, it's basically our component tree. And level 1, you want to think of it as like a high-rise building or a skyscraper. Level 1's your first floor. Level 2, anything else is above it. So that's the ground. That's the ground level. So to add a new level, we can right click and we can insert new level. And on this one, I'm actually going to do this 4 times. Okay. And that's because I like to have everything set up. We're going to start at level 1. So I've got all my levels, and I'm going to start at level 1. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to clip art and go to clip art. And you will have to have had to download it all this when I think you initially purchased VCarve. And if you don't have it, I think you can buy it, unfortunately, but you don't have to go through the VCarve's clip art. You can do your own models, but then you got to know how to use 3D programs, and it can get a little bit more complicated. So it is very convenient to have this in there for little projects. So anyway, we're going to go to Domes and Dishes. We're going to click a flat square, and we'll just double click to get it out in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click it, go to my drawings, hold down shift. I'm going to click this path, and we're going to center it up on it. All right. And what we're going to do is make this basically 1 inch smaller So we're 12 by 25, so I want to make it 11 by 24. So we're going to go here. We're going to make this 11 by 24, hit apply. That looks good. And so now we want to add these to these other squares, but before I do that, we're going to click this. Let's go into the modeling. I'm actually going to open up my 3D view so we can see what's going on. And right now it's kind of shooting out. We don't want that. And that is because there's a common theme among a lot of design programs, and that's combination modes. And that's how one asset or one thing combines with another. So to see that, we've got this icon up here, and we can see all our combination modes here. We also can right click and we can see all our combination modes here in writing. So you've got add, subtract, merge, low, multiply. All right, so what we want to do, let's click our level 1 and let's click merge. And then I think we want to be in subtract mode. There we go. So we want to be subtract on the flat square and merge on the level. All right, another thing that I want to do while I've got this up is I want to make sure that my shape height, we're at 1 inch thick and material. So it's how far do you want it to pocket down? And I'm just going to say for this a ½ inch. So we're just going to go down a ½ inch. And I put 2 decimals there. All right, so that looks good. So we're going to close out of this. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold control and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this up 1 level. And that made a copy of it right here. I'm going to go to drawings, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to grab my lines, and then let's center it up on that. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on level 3. Like this, hold shift, and we're going to go to drawings, and let's center that up. Looks good. So now we've got the 3 centers in a row. Perfect. All right, so that's good. So now we just got to add our object. So let's go to clip art. And for me, you really got to kind of plan out your design based around what object you're going to use. Like something like a snake or a dragon obviously is long and that's nice. Uh, so you got to kind of pick something that's going to work for you. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at, you may or may not have this, but I think I got it when I first bought it, but we're going to put a cowboy bull, lassoing a bull in the middle. So I'm going to double click, drag it in. All right, so now we're going to scale this guy up. And we're going to I'm going to hold shift to scale in the center. And let's just kind of position it to where we think it looks interesting. And I think something like this is good enough, at least for this for this uh, for this example. So we're going to go to modeling. All right, so we're on level 1. I've got my cowboy lassoing a bull. So let's go take a look at the properties of this thing. Obviously, it's way too thick. It's thicker than our material. So the first thing we want to do is come to the shape height. And let's say we're going to say 0.445 because my dish height is 5 inches. I mean, or 0.5 inches. So I don't want that to go above it. So let's try that. And let's see what we've got. And let's try to take the base height down as well. Now, when we take the base height down, that base height, it's basically the height, it's that thickness. So like maybe, I don't know, let's just let's leave it at, for now, that's good. We'll leave it at point. We'll go a whole number. Let's just go 0.4. Okay, that looks good. And if any of this gets confusing, we can, if you need to visually disable the other levels, you can do that so you can just see what, if you need to focus on what you're working on. But I kind of like to see it all going on. So, okay, awesome. So now we've got this set up. So we got to tell VCarve that I only want to display parts of the bull inside of these black areas. The way you do that is called clipping, and it is what you're doing is you're creating a clipping mask, and we're going to create a boundary. We're going to click the flat square. We're going to come up here to create vector boundary. And this is the boundary that we're going to use to tell VCarve that this is what we want everything inside of it to stay. We want everything outside of it to be ignored. All right, so we're going to have that highlighted. We're going to right click on level 1. We're going to go to clipping, hit apply. And now you should see that we have only the head of this bull. Perfect. So we are going to do that same process through all 3 squares. All right, so we're basically copying this cowboy on top of each other in 3 layers. And we're going to be doing this individually. So hold down Control, click on the cowboy lassoing the bull. We're going to go right above level 2. It looks like right here, this change in color means the model is still a little high. It's going to go higher than the material itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the center of here on the level 2. We're going to create a new vector boundary. Right click that, go to level 2, apply clipping. And there we go. Looks good. His knee is still a little high. I'm really not gonna, for the sake of time, you can go in and we can play with all the different heights. If you had to, lower it just ever so slightly, if you want it to get it nice and dialed in. So last one, we're gonna click that and drag that up to layer 3, level 3. I'm gonna click this. I'm gonna apply a vector boundary. Click that boundary. Go to clipping, and we're gonna hit apply. Boom. There we go. Now the we've got the image, and that's why you can see I kind of like to put them close together so you can kind of see the whole flow. And obviously we didn't put a whole lot of time into composing this, so kind of be tweaked a little bit to make it look like it's more compositionally correct, so to speak. All right, so the last thing we're going to do here is this level 4. Okay, so we applied everything to level 1 through 3, but this level 4, we're saving this for this 0 plane. So we're going to click 0 plane, and what that's going to do is going to create a 0 plane on top, so that way we don't have any rough edges around when it CNCs. Because before you do that, you can see these rough edges. Your machine will try to carve that out. So that's why you want to put that Z that Z level down, or that 0 plane down, and so that smooths it out. Perfect. All right, we are basically done. So the only thing you really have left to do now is go to tool assigning. So let's go back to 2D. And so let's go over the toolpath layer. And so, your process, for the actual carving is going to be very different from machine to machine. So I'm going to kind of just surface level this. It's more about design, but we'll just kind of surface level the toolpath. So what I would do here, if this was me, and I'm lazy, so I'm going to do all of these at once for this, and we're going to go to a roughing toolpath. We've got 1 inch on our thickness. It'll usually bring this up. We do not gap above material. We do not want any gap above the material. I want this to start at the surface. So I'm going to 0 that out. I'm going to hit OK. Hit OK. Okay, then it's going to bring me to the actual machining toolpath. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. We want to make sure that selected vectors is checked on, because we only want it to apply in the vectors that we have selected. Machining allowance, you want to keep a little bit. That's what the meat it's going to leave behind for the finishing pass. So you want to leave a little bit there. And now I'm gonna leave it on Z level, and we're going to leave everything as is. I'm going to hit calculate. And if we go to, brings up the 3D view, this computer is not fast. So let's just take a look at the visible toolpath so far. Taking its time. Yeah, this is an all-in-one desktop computer, so this has no horsepower at all, no pun intended. All right, that looks good. That looks like what we want. So now let's close and let's see what the finishing pass would look like. So with our same vectors selected, this one I have set up for a 16th inch ball nose. So you're gonna want something pretty small, something detail oriented like this. Again, the vectors, we want selected vectors. We do want to use a raster strategy in the offset because we don't want it to plunge into the center if you're using a small bit. We want it to kind of start on the outskirts. And we'll leave it at a 40-degree raster angle. That's what I usually do. Let's hit calculate. Let's see what we get. All right, so that took a couple minutes, but this is what we end up with. So we're just going to preview this visible toolpath and see what it does. Do I need to grab anything on my way back? Question mark. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So the last thing we got to do is just do the final cutout. So I'm going to grab these three, go back into my tool operations. I'm going to do a 1 inch deep with a 3/8 end mill on the outside. Everything else looks good, so we'll just finish it off with that. So we'll preview the visible. All right, and there we have it. We've got 3 panels that would be pretty cool. Machine and hang them up on the wall. At least where I live, I'm in the West, so we very much cowboy culture over here still. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully, you guys learned something, and there's a lot you can do. Go out there and be creative, and I will see you guys in the next video.